Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Bulletin Brass. Today I want to go over the last video, basically. I think that what happened in that video was significant in terms of recognizing when preconceptions are wrong and when a particular platform has an advantage for a particular shooter. Because it isn't always obvious. It isn't always what you prefer. It isn't always what you're used to. I have a few hundred rounds under my belt with that P80. I helped break it in, played around with it a little bit at the range, but not a lot of rounds. And I've got a lot of rounds through my P320. And I really like my P320. I've got a great trigger in there. It came that way for me. I bought a used frame and then also bought the full-size setup. I bought it as a compact. Anyway, doesn't matter. I historically am not a Glock fan. I don't like the usual trigger pull. I don't like the grip angle on regular Glocks, not the P80s. I actually do like the grip angle on the P80s. But just the whole setup has never been my preference. I think they're a great gun. I think they are certainly an industry leader. But for me personally, I was never a huge fan. But it doesn't matter, right? The results show that that particular P80, under those conditions, I was at least as fast, slightly faster. And again, the difference was so small that if I had done a few more reps, who knows what the actual, fastest or average might have been. But it averaged faster and was fast, had the fastest overall. So now the question is why? And this is what I've been thinking about for the past 2 days. And the answer really is the grip. Because the trigger was not better. The trigger was a liability. You can certainly upgrade those triggers. That one has the stock factory Glock parts. But the actual grip on that P80 has a great deal of stippling along the side that is sharp. It really locks it into your hand. It is the kind of gun where if you hold it properly, under recoil, it is very controlled. The P320 is good, but it's a little more comfortable. The grip is a little more natural, but it isn't necessarily as perfectly, well behaved under recoil. It isn't that it's not behaved, it's that the P80, despite being less comfortable, despite, sandpaper in my hand, had a very quick recovery. Very, very quick. And that did it. I mean, you're talking tiny fractions of a second, but it let it get that last shot off that much faster. And I think that it mostly boils down to the grip. It also boils down to the grip angle matches closer to my 1911s that I have tons of time on. And things like that matter. If you buy a carry gun and you have a range gun, you don't want something where the grip angle is so different that you have to adapt your wrists, your fingers. You want it to be, when you bring it up on target, your sights are already aligned for both guns. In that video, you saw me, basically laughing at myself because I had been shooting the Glock, and I had shot a few practice sessions beforehand because we were checking some stuff out. I went to shoot the P320, and basically I was aiming at the ground because Glocks, even the P80s, historically for me, they shoot high, so I naturally have to push my wrist a little more forward, and that points your gun down a little more. And in 1911s, for some reason, I don't tend to do that. I think it's the grip shape, not the angle, but the actual shape. Just because you're talking a couple degrees. It's nothing major. But then I picked up the SIG, and I did the same thing, and it was now pointed at the ground. Uh, well, it was pointed like 4 inches below the target, and it took me a few times to get that undone. That's one of the reasons I didn't go back, flip back and forth on the uh, which gun I used for the drill. I did all of one, did all the next, did all the next, because I didn't want to throw myself off. In every case, the first round was the slowest. The last round was not necessarily the fastest, but the first round was always the slowest, because you're readapting to the sights. You're readapting to how everything works, which is why you really want to practice a lot with your carry gun. You don't want to do all of your shooting with a range gun, a competition style gun or anything like that, and not get significant practice with your carry gun. Your carry gun should also be your last gun of the trip. So if you're doing a range trip and you fire a bunch of stuff, shoot your range gun for a mag or two right at the end. It kind of resets your head. It gets you back in the mentality of, this is what it feels like. This is the grip angle. This is what those sights look like. And it seems silly. It seems like, why should that matter all that much? Because your brain is not going to remember this. Your brain does. Your brain is easily programmed. It is just a fact of life. Your brain is very easily programmed to remember physical skills once they're developed. So, if you have 4 different guns you bring to the range, 4 different handguns, and they're all different, whichever one you shoot last will usually, barring anything weird, will usually be the one that your body is most comfortable with later. And it's just simply that you've set those pathways and you've told it this is what it's supposed to do. And if that's what it does next time, it's happy. You're happy. It's one of the reasons that it makes sense to have sets of handguns where your carry gun is, say, a Glock 19, and your target gun is a Glock 17 or 17L, or just a different Glock 19. And your IDPA gun is also a Glock format gun. It keeps it consistent, so you're building muscle memory across the board. You're not having to adapt, and you're not going to change things up. So, anyway, take care, have fun, stay safe, y'all, and keep shooting. Say hi.